All right, so boom, it's Mindful Monday. I think it's important to be mindful of if you are transactional or reciprocal. Now, keep in mind, it's not the only two attachment styles in the world, right? It's just the two I'm talking about. And it's just my opinion, right? I think that there's nothing inherently good or bad about either of them. I think it's just pros and cons to both. Now, if you are a transactional attachment style person, everything is equal and of the same value to you, right? So what does that mean? Like, think about when you go to the store, right? When you go to the store to buy a brownie or whatever you're going to buy, you get the brownie and you have to pay them the money that's equal, right? But you get the brownie right then and there. So that's what it's really about. It's about equal exchange. Both of these are about equal exchange, but this one is about exact, right? Exact amount. Whereas reciprocal, like if you're a reciprocal attachment style, you tend to pour into people and allow them to pour into you in the ways that both of you can, right? So you may not do exactly equal. I mean, it's definitely equal, right? But it's not the same exact way, right? So this is more like a barter system. Instead of you going to pay money, you'd be like, I'll do this for you if you do that for me. I'll give you this if you give me that. But it's based off of what you naturally have in your own resources. Now, although they are similar, they sound similar, they're not the same. Like, and I think that it's important for you to know which one you are so that you can find other people who are like you so that you mesh well. Now, to me, some of the pros about being transactional is that it tends to be more like in your face. And what I mean by that is like the boundaries are set and they're clear. And it's like very direct. It's like, you do this, I do that, we're friends. Or you do this, I do that, we're in business, whatever it is, right? And it's based off of that transaction. And if that transaction is not happening, then the relationship is not prioritized. This gives you a lot more free time, a lot more free space, because it's based off of transaction. So if you're not in need of whatever it is that you're looking for, then that's not a priority to you, right? And because it's transactional, that person's not missing anything, right? Because they're not giving you anything that's not being returned to them. It's only when you guys, like, think about it like that friend that you go out with and you guys have a great time together, but you guys don't really hang out outside of a bar or anything like that. It's not, for a transactional friend, that's perfectly okay, because it's like, when I'm ready to go out, when I'm ready to have a good time, I have a friend who I have a great time with, who meshes well with that. Now, a reciprocal type of vibe or a reciprocal friend is like, maybe I will, because I'm a more emotionally stable, right? I tend to show up for you emotionally, right? I'm that shoulder to cry on. I'm that person that helps you unpack things emotionally. Whereas you may be the friend who is more physically stable. You have more economic things. You have more family. You have more community. So whereas you can be the physical giver, right? This person could be the emotional giver. It's still pouring into each other. It's still equal. But this one is like, the pro about this is that it's not dependent on the transaction. You can show up empty in these relationships and still be filled because they know on the other end you will pour back into them. So you do have more space in the relationship versus a transactional one. There's more space in the relationship to show up and not be fully whole. Whereas a transactional one is like, if I'm not ready to have a good time, if you're not on the space that I'm at, we don't have it. Again, nothing inherently wrong, bad with either of those, just different. And if you're a reciprocal person trying to deal with a transactional person or vice versa, that's when it becomes difficult, because the transactional person really doesn't see the issue with not showing up outside of that transaction, because for them, everything is okay. But for a reciprocal person, what may happen is that you may become, your needs change, right? And with a reciprocal relationship, it's like you are opening, or you're looking for people to grow with you, right? To morph with you. So you may give different things at different times. And if you're trying to deal with a transactional person who's looking for this specific thing, right? For you to fulfill this specific purpose, then you trying to interact or be with them outside of that is going to make you feel like, oh, they're being funny to you. And really, it's just not the friend that you are. And again, these are okay. I just think that transactional people or transactional attachment styles need to deal with other people who are transactional, because then it's no issue. Whereas if you're trying to build a community and you're looking for reciprocity, you need to look to other people who are reciprocal, right? Who are willing to pour into you and acknowledge the way you pour into them, even if you didn't ask for it, right? And acknowledge how you pour into them in ways that are outside of the parameters in which they pour into you. And someone's inability to do that, right, may not mean that they don't like you, may not mean anything. It may just mean that they're a more transactional person. And it's more about in the moment, like when they see you, when you guys are together, when you guys are in relation, then everything is everything. And for them, that's okay. When they're gone, when they're missing, when they're doing whatever they need to do for them, it's not a slight to you. It's just their attachment style. And it's not that these two type of friends can't be friends ever. It's just you have to really work to figure it out, right? Figure it out to like work out the kinks of the friendship, because there's definitely going to be some learning curves. There's definitely going to be a difference in the needs and desires and the fulfillment if you guys are not synced. One con about a reciprocal relationship, just to show you that I'm not biased, right? Even though I'm a reciprocal person, one con about a reciprocal relationship is that it's harder to figure out when that relationship has run its course, because regardless of your attachment style, there will be relationships in your life that are not, most relationships in your life are not permanent, right? They're for an extended time when you guys are in alignment, and then you separate. And this is goes against how we are socialized, right, to exist. But that's the reality on a soul level, right? So when you're reciprocal, when you're not always transactional, right? Because the transaction is like, here, if you're not doing this, if you're not giving me exactly what I'm giving you, we're not, you know what I'm saying? The transaction is null and void versus reciprocal, where you guys have this situation where I give to you in a certain type of way and you give to me in certain type of ways. If you stop giving in one of those ways, that may not necessarily jump out to a reciprocal person as a red flag immediately. Whereas transactional was like, what? What's happening? You get what I mean? One con about a transactional person, though, or transactional relation attachment style, is that you don't have that latitude to show up in relationships as not your whole self, as like, you know what I'm saying, as less than, because it's based on the transaction. So when you have transactional relationships, if you're not up to it, if you're not, you know what I'm saying, if you're not a part of the vibe, then it's best for you to, not even best for you to stay home. It's like you're more likely to be excluded. You're more likely to be, and it's not intention. It's not like seen as a bad. It's just like, okay, you're not in this vibe, so we're just going to do us. And you know what I mean? You're not a part of the transaction. You don't have the money to go on the trip. Feel me? And this is emotional. This is mental. This is physical. This is spiritual. It looks in different ways, like how we give and how we receive. Overall, though, I think someone with a more transactional relationship style tends to have, and this is not a slight to reciprocal people, but they tend to have a more fuller personal life, like very full of themselves. They have a lot going on, like personal projects and things like that, that fill them. They usually come from strong backgrounds and very independent people who are sustained in a way that they only need friendships and these relationships for certain things, right? If I want to go out, I do this. If I want to talk about deep stuff, I go here. You know what I mean? So on and so forth. Whereas reciprocal people tend to be individuals where there can be a lot more conflict because you may be very different people versus transactional, where you tend to be a lot of the same. Like the friend group tends to be exactly the same people in the same vibe because you sync up with your moods, right? It's like when we're ready to go out, we do this. When we're not, we chill. You know what I mean? Whatever it looks like. Versus reciprocal, you tend to be different types of people. You can mesh, but it's also that conflict of like, it's not always going to it's not always going to be melodic all the time when you have different people versus people who are tend to be the same. But like I said, I'm more of a reciprocal person. I feel like my attachment style is more reciprocal, and that's just what works for me. But I've definitely grown from the transaction. I feel like I was raised up in a transactional home, but with reciprocal mindset. Like they felt like they were being reciprocal. We felt like we were being reciprocal, but it was really transactional. And part of my learning curve was really like realizing that I want more reciprocity, so I had to be more reciprocal. I had to be able to show up for people in ways that weren't directly transactional to me. And that was an issue for me at first. But we got there, right? Because that was what I wanted to do for me. That was, I feel like reciprocity or reciprocal attachment styles was something that I want to build in my life versus just having transactional relationships, which worked for a while, right? Like it definitely was a point in time where I didn't want deep relationships and I wanted it to be surface level, and I wanted it to, when I want to show up, when I want to have a good time, when I want to kiki, when I want to get deep, I show up, I do that, and then I disappear. I think it's about knowing where you are, what you need, what's best for you, how you are, like who you are, and like being honest with that, not who you think you are, but who you actually are, and then giving yourself what you need overall. So on Mindful Mondays, I want you to think about, are you transactional or are you reciprocal?